The pastures of Australia. Vast grasslands stretching away to distant horizons. The greens are tinged with browns, for this is a country of blazing sunshine, a sunburned country. But the pastures are lush and fertile, and on them graze the world's greatest flocks, more than 120 million sheep, which thrive in the temperate south, the subtropical north, and the hot, dry interior. Pastures like these cover only a comparatively small part of the continent, and nature has challenged men and their flocks to venture further into the outback. And some who have accepted the challenge have been well rewarded, for below the dry and dusty surface of the land are vast stores of artesian water. The outback is dry, and yet the soil itself is very fertile. If water can be brought from artesian bores or can be stored after rain falls, the outback blossoms in a riot of color. Only water is needed to make the soil give of its goodness. It could be a suburban garden. Actually, it's at a homestead with the nearest neighbors perhaps 100 miles away. Here, the source of the life-giving water is the Billabong. Billabong is an Aboriginal word that means a big water hole formed by a river, and this station is called Billabong for the water that gives it life. It's big, almost as big as some outback villages, with its homestead, outbuildings, shearing sheds, and the homes of the station hands. This is a property carrying 40,000 sheep, and it depends for its very existence on the Billabong. Summer temperature is well over 100 degrees, and the water lures the emus from a long way off. Their ancestors used the Billabong long before the homestead was built, when the black men camped by its banks. Emus can't fly, but they travel very fast. Almost as fast, in fact, as kangaroos. There he goes, and we'll have to let him go too, because there's work to be done back at the station. It's shearing time at Billabong. From the pastures and the shade of the tall silver-green gums, the musterers return, sheepdogs racing round the flocks, bringing in the sheep. Patience is the watchword of the musterers, for the sheep must not be hustled or excited. The men who muster are sheepmen of long experience. They're hard, wiry, sun-bronzed Australians. Men for whom the glitter of the city has no appeal. Men who love the great outdoors and wide horizons. In this outback station, some Aborigines are employed. They're good horsemen and make fine station hands. Expertly, they handle the big mobs to be mustered. Not that the horsemen have a great deal to do. Sheepdogs are models of efficiency and intelligence, directed only by whistles from their masters. Gradually, the sheep are drafted into the pens, from which they'll enter the shearing sheds. It is in the drafting yards, sheep of different ages and sex are separated before going up to the shed. These are merinos, and each sheep will cut over 10 pounds of wool. That means a clip from this property alone of more than 400,000 pounds weight of wool. Life on a sheep property at shearing time is always busy. The drafting yards are filled, but still more sheep are being driven closer to the sheds, so that they may take the place of those soon to be shorn. The shearers are ready. It's almost 7:30, and the first merinos go into the shed. Shearing time at Billabong, the climax of 12 months' attention to sheep and pastures. Now the merinos are out of the hands of the station folk. They're in the fast, capable hands of the shearers, men who follow the season from north to south and east to west. Let's watch the shearing of a sheep from beginning to end. The shearer sits it down, holding it firmly between his knees. Power-driven shears first remove the wool along the sheep's belly. This wool, which usually has more clover burr or grass seed in it than the rest of the fleece, is kept separate. The inside of the thighs is next shorn, as is the wool from the left hind leg. Part of the wool on the left rump and over the tail is then taken off. This sheep is a merino, and merinos are more difficult to shear because of the loose skin wrinkles often found in these animals. The neck wool is opened up, and from here the shearer works down the left side of the neck and shoulder. He uses easy strokes and always finishes each blow with the comb flat on the skin. It surprises many people to learn that the whole fleece, with the exception of the belly wool, is removed in one piece. The sheep is next turned onto its flank, and the rest of the wool on the left side of the body is removed. Sweeping the machine along the full length of the animal from tail to head is called the long blow. Shearers call each sweep of the shears a blow. Now the shearer brings the sheep up and, commencing once more at the neck, works down the right hand, or whipping side as it is called, to the foreleg. From here he continues down the right hand side with the same long, easy blows. He keeps the skin as tight as possible throughout to avoid cutting the animal. Each stroke is finished as before with the comb flat on the skin. Above all, he has avoided kneeling on the sheep whilst working. The sheep is finished by removing what wool remains on the rump, and then it will go down the chute into a pen, where it will be counted and credited to him later on. Shearers work 4 two-hour runs, and it's lunchtime. Most shearers work in teams with their own cook as part of it. These shearer teams and individual shearers travel thousands of miles each year from station to station. Since they pay the cook, the shearers make sure they get the best variety in their meals. Each day they get an hour break for lunch and 2 half-hour smokers. During these breaks, the shorn sheep are counted out, and then usually they're dipped or sprayed to kill insect pests. Australia produces 1/4 of the world's wool, and the health and well-being of her flocks is, of course, vastly important. Sharpening the combs and cutters is a full-time job. It's not so many years since the old blade shears were displaced by machines. Since the modern shearer is paid according to the number of sheep he shears, he insists on keeping his equipment in first-class condition. Lunch break is over, and the shed comes to life again. To the shearer, this is the board, and each man's position is a stand. They're words that have come to be part of Australia's poetry and literature, as has rouseabouts, jumbuck, and billabong. As each sheep is shorn, pickers up gather the fleeces in a heap with a circular movement. They then toss it shorn side down onto the rolling table. Here the job of the skirters begins. They strip off all soiled wool and wool that contains grass seeds or clover burr. After skirting, each fleece is folded in so that the shoulder wool is left uppermost. Then it's ready for the wool classer. The classer examines it for such qualities as length, fineness, and crimp or waviness. The strength is tested by taking a single staple and subjecting it to a strain of about 7 pounds. Tender wool would break, but not this good quality fleece. Fleece pickers sort the skirting into different bins according to quality. But whether it's fleece or skirtings, it's all wool, and good wool. Fleeces of the same type are pressed into bales weighing about 300 pounds weight. There are 10 shearers at this shed, so the presser is kept busy on the press, stamping it down, in the first instance, by foot. Then the press itself comes into operation until the wool is compressed to the limit. After the wool has been pressed, the cap is fastened and the bale removed from the press. Each bale is then weighed and the weight and number of the bale recorded. The bale is stencil branded with the station name, type of wool, and bale number. Wool from Billabong, Australia. Destination? Well, it could be almost anywhere in the world. And as the bales are rolled out to be loaded onto big trucks, the shearers are still working at the board, taking off more fleeces with long, sure blows. The golden fleece that comes from Billabong is only a fraction of the wool that comes from Australia's vast flocks. To the world, those bales and the hundreds of thousands that will come from other Australian properties mean warmth and clothing and employment. For this is but the raw material, the natural fiber for which there is no substitute. Each year, shorn of their fleeces, the sheep return to their pastures. When the season comes round once more, the muster will begin and the shears will race. It will be shearing time at Billabong.